One of the great things about Adobe Acrobat is its ability to work with your scanner to import documents directly into a PDF file. And if you're one of those people who have spent hours scanning multiple files into TIFF or JPEG format, then saving them off on your hard drive, and then pasting them into a word processor to assemble them into a single document, you are going to love this feature. We can start working with the scanner by clicking the Create button and then choosing PDF from Scanner. Or we can access this directly from the File menu, choosing Create, and then PDF from Scanner. Unfortunately, there's no shortcut for this menu item. You have to click several times before you get here. When we choose PDF from Scanner, and if we're on Windows, we see 5 presets that have been set up and are ready to choose. Auto Detect Color Mode, Black and White Document, and so forth. If you're on a Mac, you'll just click Create PDF from Scanner, and this will take you directly to the Custom Scan options, which we'll cover a little bit later in this video. On Windows, we have the ability to modify these 5 basic presets, and it's worth our while to spend some time exploring this. As with most features in Acrobat, we have a configuration dialog that covers how these presets work. Let's go ahead and open that up now by clicking Configure Presets. The first thing at the top of our Configure Presets box is our choice of scanner, and here we can pick from the scanners that are available on our system. The next thing we have is a choice of which of the 5 presets that we want to modify. There's no way to create additional presets, but all 5 of these can be modified as you wish. We'll start in this video by looking at the black and white document, and we'll make some modifications to this preset. For the input section in the middle of the dialog here, we have the option to scan both sides or just the front side. This is meaningful only if your scanner has double-sided scanning capabilities. If not, this option is totally ignored. But if your scanner does have this capability, make sure to take note and set this option appropriately. The next 3 options are visible when you're using Acrobat within Microsoft Windows. Again, Mac users will not see these even with a custom scan. The first is the color mode, and for the black and white document, we want this set to black and white. Notice though that it has settings for grayscale, color, and auto detect as well. We'll leave this on black and white. Again, this only applies to Windows, and the auto detect setting only has meaning if your scanner has the ability to be set to an auto detect mode. Under resolution, we have the ability to set the scanner in preset increments from 75 all the way up to 3000 dpi, quite an extensive range. For document scanning, which is what we're going to be doing here, 300 dpi should be just fine. Under paper size, we can choose a default paper size, and when we scan with this preset, the scanner will automatically scan the entire fixed area that we've defined here. If you want to be able to change this from one scan to the next, you may be better off with the custom scan feature, which we'll cover in just a few moments. Now, here's a time saver. Prompt for scanning more pages. When we're done scanning a single page, Acrobat will import the image into the PDF document, and with this option checked, Acrobat will pause to ask us whether we want to scan additional pages. We can choose yes or no, and this is a great convenience to prevent you from having to go back through the menus and dialog boxes multiple times. You simply place the next sheet, choose yes, and you can continue scanning until you're done. This is a very nice feature. In the document settings at the bottom, we can first choose to optimize the PDF after it's scanned. We can choose the quality setting here, or we can click the Options button to open a dialog box with even more settings. We can choose the compression level, and we can choose lossless compression for better quality or lossy compression for a smaller file size. And again, we see the quality slider here. In this dialog box under the Filters section, we have some features that are typically found within your scanner's software, starting with deskew. This rotates the image if you placed it a little bit off kilter on the scanner bed. Background removal will lighten or attempt to whiten any background area that's nearly white, but this only applies to color and grayscale settings. You might want to try the medium or high settings if you're scanning an off-white paper. D-Screen will attempt to remove or reduce the halftone dots, which are the tiny dots of ink you see in images that have come from a printing press, such as a newspaper or a magazine. These dots can create patterns in your scan and can negatively impact JPEG compression, resulting in larger image file size. Setting this to on applies this filter to black and white or color images scanned above 300 dpi. Note that this filter isn't much use above 600 dpi or so. Text sharpening will do just as it says, sharpen text. The default setting of low should be okay for most documents, but if you have a low quality original, you might want to try increasing this setting. Again, these are all features that are similar to what's available from most scanner software, but here it's built right into Adobe Acrobat 11. We'll click on OK to exit from this. And finally, and here's an important feature, we have the option to make searchable, run OCR. And OCR is optical character recognition, the ability to convert an image to live text that can be searched within the PDF document. Now, there are some options associated with this as well. We can choose the scan language, in this case, English, and you can set the text output style to searchable image or clear scan. Searchable image will recognize the text and place it on an invisible layer above the original image. Clear scan goes a step further and actually creates a custom font on the fly that resembles the original font. They both work well and they both have their advantages, but if you need to do any editing or tweaking to the text, you may want to stick with searchable image, as it seems to be more robust in allowing changes later. On the other hand, clear scan will provide a much smaller file size and potentially a much better looking image in the long run. We'll leave this set to searchable image for now, and we'll click on OK. Finally, we have an option at the bottom to add metadata, and if we check this, we'll have an extra dialog box as we're creating the PDF that will allow us to add metadata and keywords to our document. We'll cover metadata in a future video, so we'll leave this turned off for now. So now that we've made our changes to the black and white preset, we'll want to click Save. Notice that if we go to another preset, such as Auto Detect Color Mode, the changes we made are not showing here. This is a completely different preset. For example, Prompt for Scanning More Pages is not turned on in this preset. A good safety net here in the presets dialog box is the Default button. This will revert the selected preset back to its original out-of-the-box settings. Once we've finished modifying presets, we can close this dialog box, and we'll return to the Create PDF from Scanner menu option. Remember, black and white document is the one that we modified, and we'll use that setting to scan in a text document from the platen of our scanner. As soon as we click this menu item, the scanning will begin, and we will not see the scanner's interface in this setting. Once the scan is finished, we get our dialog box asking us whether we're finished scanning. We can choose that our scan is complete or that we want to keep scanning additional pages. We're done, so we'll click OK to get through this dialog box. Recall that we enabled the option to run OCR, optical character recognition, and make this text searchable, and we can see that we have text by using the multi-selection tool, and when we hover over the text, we get the I-beam cursor. I'll zoom in a little closer so you can see what's happening here. With the cursor, we can even select a word at a time, and we can copy and paste this text into other documents. This text is searchable. If we press the keyboard shortcut Control F in Windows or Command F on a Mac, we get the Find dialog box, and we can enter the word change, and we'll press Enter. It finds the first occurrence of that word. Clicking the next button, we can move through the document, finding additional occurrences of the word change. So, as you can see, we've made the text searchable using the Optical Character Recognition feature, or OCR. We can also see that the quality of the text image is fairly low, and if we zoom in a little further, we can see that even better. And this was a decision we made in configuring the black and white preset to favor low quality over higher file size. Recall that we had the quality slider set fairly low, and we can see the JPEG artifacts around the edges of our text. We can increase the quality and get a cleaner scan, but this would be at the expense of a larger file size, and this is a trade-off you'll need to make as you scan your own images. Sometimes we may not want to use the built-in presets, and we may want the added convenience and flexibility of using our scanner's native interface. We'll close this document, and we'll choose Create and then PDF from Scanner, and this time we'll choose Custom Scan. Custom Scan gives us a few more options than what we saw in the presets. As we mentioned in the beginning, this is closer to the dialog box that you see if you're using Acrobat 11 on a Mac. We start with the scanner choice as before, but if we click on the Options button, we have an option here to hide or show the scanner's native interface. If we click Show, this will launch the scanner software driver directly, and it will return the results back to Acrobat. Note that when we choose this, the options for color mode, resolution, and paper size are disabled because we're going to set those options within our scanner software. We can still prompt for scanning more pages, and I recommend leaving this checkbox on for convenience. Next, where do we want to put our scan? We can create a new PDF document, or we can append it to an existing document. You can see in the drop-down list whether we have open documents, or you can even browse to locate a file that's already saved on your hard drive. This is another very useful feature. In this case, we're going to choose to create a new PDF document. Notice the option here for multiple files. If we enable this and choose more options, we get the ability to scan a certain number of pages per file, and we can even name the files sequentially. For example, we could automatically create a new file every 2 scans, or 3, or even every 1 scan. If you're scanning slides or photos, this might be useful to create a whole series of documents. We're going to deselect multiple files, and we'll move on to the next set of options. The document settings are similar to what we saw earlier when we covered the presets, so we won't cover them here, although we will select Make Searchable to run OCR on our scan. But the key concept here is that we've changed the options to show the scanner's native interface. At this point, we're ready to click Scan. When we click Scan, we'll get the scanner's native interface, which will look different depending on your scanner. Within the scanner interface, we can not only set the quality and type of scan, but we can change the page size on the fly. Something that's highly useful if we have odd-size original documents. We can even crop a document so that we only scan a portion of it. For example, we can choose to crop this one and leave the signatures out. Also, with the scanner's interface, we have access to any advanced features that might be available with your scanner's software. Again, this may vary from one scanner to the next. When we click Scan, the scanner works and the file is sent back to Acrobat. Here, once again, we can choose the option that the scan is complete, and we have our custom scan document. Notice the cropping and the fact that we've left the signatures off. So we've created a custom crop by using the custom scan options. Now you've seen how to create PDF files from your scanner using the built-in presets as well as using custom scanning.